Hare Krishna, Namaste.
Chapter 13 is entitled as Kshetrajna Yoga, also as Prakriti Purusha Vibhaga Yoga, also as Prakriti Purusha Viveka Yoga. Sloka 6 and 7, Part 6. mahā-bhūtāny ahaṅkārah buddhir avyaktam evacha indriyāṇi daśaikaṁ pañca cendriya-gocarāḥ icchā dveṣaḥ sukhaṁ duḥkhaṁ saṅghātaś cetanā dhṛtiḥ etat kṣetraṁ samāsena sa-vikāram udāhṛtam. The five great elements, false ego, intelligence, the unmanifested, the 10 senses, and the mind, the 5 sense objects, desire, hatred, happiness, distress, the aggregate, the life symptoms, and convictions. All these are considered, in summary, to be the field of activities and its interactions. So far, we have learned that Prakriti, the primary material from which Mahan comes, from Mahan comes ahaṅkāra, and ahaṅkāra or satvika ahaṅkāra, rajasa ahaṅkāra, and tamasa ahaṅkāra, and from tamasa ahaṅkāra we saw pañca tanmatra and pancha-bhūta get created, and previous to that we also learned about satvika ahaṅkāra, which produces 5 indriyas, pañca jnānendriya and pañca karmendriya plus mind. So altogether makes it 24 elements. But these elements are of no use if they are kept as they are. It's like having sand, cement, water all separately by itself. We cannot achieve anything just by having as they are. But they have to be mixed together so that whatever we want can be made from that mixture. Likewise, these 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, leaving them as it is going to be of no use. Therefore, the Lord does a mixing of these 5 elements in certain pattern, and that mixing of these 5 elements is called pañcīkaranam, and that's what we are going to learn today. What Lord does is He takes each of the element, leaves a part of it, and takes the remaining part, divides it into 4 parts, and mix each part into other elements. An element, half of it is left, that is 50% is left, and then the next half of it is divided into 4 parts. That means each part of that is 1/8. So 1/8 of that element is mixed with another element. Now let's understand this. Prithvi, that is earth, 50% of the Prithvi is left as it is. The remaining 50% is divided into 4 parts. That each becomes 12.5% or 1/8. So this 12.5% of Prithvi is mixed with water. The next 12.5% of Prithvi is mixed with fire. The next 12.5% of Prithvi is mixed with air. and the next 12.5% of Prithvi, that is earth, is mixed with Akasha. Now we got to repeat the same thing for water. But let's remember, before the mixing happens, the 50% are already taken off from each of these 5 elements. And the remaining half is divided into 4 parts. And that is what is getting mixed here. Now, 50% of water which is left apart, and another 50% is divided into 4 parts, which means 1/8 of each is mixed with the rest of the 4 elements. 1/8 of water is mixed with earth, 1/8 of the water is mixed with fire, 1/8 of the water is mixed with air, 1/8 of water is mixed with Akasha. Next, 50% of fire is left aside. This is all before the mixing, as we already told. And the next 50% is divided into 4 parts. From that, 1/8 of the fire is mixed with Prithvi, that is earth. 1/8 of the fire is mixed with water. 1/8 of the fire is mixed with air. 1/8 of the fire is mixed with Akasha. Next, Vayu. 50% of Vayu is left as it is, and then the remaining 50% is divided into 4 parts. From that, 1/8 of the air is mixed with earth, 1/8 of the air is mixed with water, 1/8 of air is mixed with fire, and 1/8 of air is mixed with Akasha, space. And the last one, which is Akasha, which is space, 50% of it is left as it is, and the remaining 50% is divided into 4 parts. From that, 1/8 of the ether is mixed with earth, 1/8 of the ether is mixed with water, 1/8 of ether is mixed with fire, and 1/8 of ether is mixed with air. And this mixing is called pañca. This is explained in the Puranas. Unless this happens, the creation cannot start without this mixing of 5 elements. So from Prithvi, Mahan, from Mahan, ahaṅkāra. Ahaṅkāra has sattvika ahaṅkāra, rajasa ahaṅkāra, tamasa ahaṅkāra. And tamasa ahaṅkāra, we learned that there is pancha tanmatra. That is the first tanmatra is shabda tanmatra. From that, Akasha comes. From there, Sparsha tanmatra. From there comes Vayu. From Vayu comes Rupa tanmatra. From that comes Tejas, which is fire. From that comes Rasa tanmatra, from which comes water. From water comes Gandha tanmatra, from which comes Prithvi, the earth. Once these 5 elements are there, 50% of these 5 elements, that is Akasha, Vayu, Tejas, Apaha, Prithvi, those are left aside, and the remaining 50% is divided into 4 parts, and what we have at the end is Prithvi of 50% and 12.5% of water, 12.5% of fire, 12.5% of air, 12.5% of Akasha. That makes it as a Prithvi with that mix. Next, the water, which is 50%, and then 12.5% of earth, 12.5% of fire, 12.5% of wind, 12.5% of Akasha. That makes it the water. Next, Tejas, which is fire, is 50% of fire, 12.5% of earth, 12.5% of water, 12.5% of air, 12.5% of Akash. And the fourth, Vayu. Vayu is 50%, whereas 12.5% of earth, 12.5% of water, 12.5% of fire, 12.5% of Akasha. And lastly, Akasha, the ether, space, 50%, and then 12.5% earth, 12.5% water, 12.5% fire, 12.5% vayu. And it is due to this panchīkarana that we see certain qualities of one element present in the other. For example, akasha doesn't have any color by nature, but we can see it appears to be blue. This is because of the mix of a part of other element into it. Now all the mixings are ready for the further creation of the universes. And the Lord appoints a Jivatma as Brahma, and that Brahma does the secondary creations. And during this creation, the living entities gets appropriate bodies based on their previous karma, which becomes their kṣetraṁ, the field of activity, which is also made of these elements that we saw. So to summarize what we have learned from these two slokas, number one, icchā. What is this field of activities made of? What dravyam, what substance? And we learned that there are 8 elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, ahaṅkāra, mahāt, prakriti. And they are all jada, not ajada. Number 2, yadrik. What does this body consist of? Then we learn 16 elements. There are 11 indriyas, which are karmendriya, jnanendriya, manasu, that comes from satvika ahaṅkāra, plus 5 senses, pañca tanmatra, that comes from tamas ahaṅkāra. That makes it 16. So 16 are sheltered in the body, which is made of 8 elements, is the second topic we saw. Yadvikari. What all changes does it go through? It goes through desire, aversion, pleasure and pain. These are the transformation happens. But we also learned that these transformation usually happens to the self, Atma, not to the body. But the reason it is said to body is because the Atma and body are so closely related. Therefore, as an aupacārikam, just as a representation, it is said that the body goes through these changes of desire, hatred, pain and pleasure. And the fourth topic we saw, yataha. What is the purpose of its creation? Why the body has been originated? There must be some purpose. It is simply to experience, for the Atma to experience the pleasure and pain. To earn worldly experiences, and also it becomes a vehicle or a tool for one's liberation. And lastly, yat. What its real nature, swarupam? Is this a combination of multiple substances or one substance? The answer we have seen quite a few times now. It is not made of one substance, it is a mix of all the substances. That ends Sloka 6 and 7. In the next 5 verses, Krishna speaks of some of the qualities arising from the association of the self with the body. These qualities being instrumental in acquiring knowledge of the self. mahā-bhūtāny ahaṅkārah buddhir avyaktam evacha indriyāṇi daśaikaṁ ca pañca cendriya-gocarāḥ icchā dveṣaḥ sukhaṁ duḥkhaṁ saṅghātaś cetanā dhṛtiḥ etat kṣetraṁ samāsena sa-vikāram udāhṛtam.
Namaste. Hare Krishna.